Here's Stankie.
What's up everybody, another beautiful day in Azeroth, and here's a quick guide to Mythic plus Dawnbreaker, going over important trash abilities and boss mechanics. Notable trash before first boss: make sure to interrupt Nightfall Shadow Mages and Snaring Shadows, deals damage and applies a curse dot that slows. Then you want to dispel or purge Nightfall Curse Blade's Dark Blade buff, which gives them 10% attack speed per stack. Ritualist Stygian Seed deals damage and applies a dot to a player, which deals damage to anyone within their circle when it's dispelled. Make sure to interrupt the Nightfall Commander's Abyssal Howl, applies an absorb to all allies if it goes off. Tsureki Web Mage's Bursting Cocoon, targeted player deals damage around them. Hug your healer with this if you feel like they're not healing you enough. For the first boss, we have Speaker Shadowcrown. Get your mounts ready. Whenever the boss casts darkness, mount your trusty steed of choice and fly away from the ship. Look at the pretty scenery and nom a few golden balls so you don't die, and return to the ship when the boat is done going boom boom. Sure to interrupt Shadowcrown's Shadow Bolt as often as possible, and don't get hit by the giant rotating obsidian beams. They also serve as a tank buster, dealing a ton of shadow damage, so make sure to pop a defensive. Shadowcrown spawns 2 rifts near 2 ranged or furthest away targets, deals a ton of damage if you stand in them and they grow in size. Avoid swimming in these. Tanks, make sure to move boss away from these if they're close to make dodging obsidian beams easier. And healers, boss applies burning shadows to a random player. This needs to be dispelled, but upon doing so, 4 players will get a big healing absorb, so beware. Notable trash before the second boss: you need to defeat 3 lieutenants before engaging the second boss, or it will be a little bit overpowered. First one, Anub'ikkaj, targets a random player and casts Dark Orb. During the cast, boss fixates on that player's direction before locking it in and shoots out an orb. So you are able to aim this. The orb hits terrain, it detonates and deals a massive amount of damage to everyone, reduced by how far it has traveled. So if you're targeted by Dark Orb, aim it so that it travels as far as possible before hitting anything. For example, tanking it on a nice hill like this one, you can aim it right off the cliff. Cretan, the Unbreakable, targets tank with Terrifying Slam, fears anyone within the big purple circle when it goes off. And tanks can jump out with this if they don't want to screw with melee. So, I'll be specking into Tremor Totem, and the Ascendant just channels pulsating group-wide AoE. Just heal Floorhead. Now, apart from the lieutenants, you have Tsureki Militant, interrupt their Silken Shell or purge it, 30% damage reduction to nearby trash mobs. Nightfall Darkcaster, make sure to interrupt their Tormenting Ray and interrupt or purge their Umbral Barrier Absorb. Nightfall Tactician have a Frontal Cone, so melee, mind your toes. Tanks, beware of Nightfall Shadowwalker's Umbral Rush. This is a tank buster dash, dealing shadow damage twice. For the second boss, we have Anub'ikkaj, uses all the abilities the 3 lieutenants uses, so targets a random player with Dark Orb. Make sure to aim it so it travels far, deals damage when it hits terrain reduced by distance. Tank, make sure to tank boss somewhere where there's space to aim the orb. Tanks also get targeted by Terrifying Slam. Here's anyone hit, move out with it so you don't fear melee, unless you want to. Boss also spawns Shadow Ads. Tank, make sure to pick them up and make sure to interrupt their Congealed Darkness. Use AoE stuns, etc. if possible. Notable trash before the last boss. One mini boss, the Nightfall Dark Architect, spawns various Nightfall mobs. Deal with them the same way as before. Also channels Tormenting Eruption onto 2 players, dealing damage to anyone within their circle, so do spread a bit. Now, as soon as the Architect is dead, Rasha'nan spawns. Boss will cast Rolling Acid, which targets a random non-tank player, and shortly after, they spawn a wave, the brighter, smaller side of the wave, aimed towards the party, and everyone else just be center of the room in front of boss. Now, throughout the fight, Nightfall Bombers throw down explosive barrels on the ship that blow up after 20 seconds, dealing massive damage to the party, and applies a nasty stacking dot. Pick these up and throw at the boss to deal massive damage to them instead. Now healers, beware of erosive spray. You need to do more than one healing during this. Now when the boss goes below 64%, intermission starts. Time to mount your trusty steed again and chase the bowels. When you land, interrupt acidic eruption and phase 2 starts. In this phase, boss keeps all the abilities from phase 1 except the explosive barrels, but instead gains spinneret web snap. Players targeted by this needs to move out to the sides. They'll drop a big web on the ground and get webbed to the center of it. Move out to snap the web, which deals damage to the entire party. When the boss casts rolling acid, the waves will clear the web patches and replace them with smaller acid pools. Now if no player is in melee range, boss will spam a tacky burst and you'll die. And that's pretty much it for Dawnbreaker. Hope it helps you all in season 1. Let me know in the comments what you think, or if you have any questions at all about the dungeon. Want to help support my channel? Check out my Patreon, Twitch, or YouTube membership, where you can gain access to the Stankie Discord, shoutouts and videos, among other things. Don't forget the usual stuff: like, comment, subscribe, and slap that notification bell. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.